Welcome to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to helping you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most.
Well, hello and welcome to the Money and Meaning Show. My name is Jeff Bernier. I am so pleased that you decided to spend a few minutes with us today as we continue our conversations around money and meaning. How do we go deep to find out what brings us joy, what are we passionate about, and what gives us meaning, and put financial plans in place to help us create the capacity to go pursue our version of a meaningful life. So again, thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited about the meeting today, the conversation. I've got an old friend on today, Rob Hoxton from Hoxton Planning and Management. And I've known Rob for a long, long time. And Rob, I'm just really excited to have you here. I can't believe it's taken me this long to get you on the show to have a conversation because your journey is significant and you've accomplished a lot. And I know the way that you coach your clients is certainly relevant to a show called Money and Meaning. And so I love to start the show, Rob, if you don't mind, just kind of giving me a little bit of background. I know you've got 30 years experience advising clients. You've managed and started a number of firms. So tell me a little bit about your journey that got you interested in doing wealth management in a way that's sort of deeper than just the dollars and cents.
Jeff, it's great to be with you. And I certainly understand why you stumbled on the name of the business because we have had a couple of different names over the years as I've been trying to figure out who I wanted to be when I grow up. But yeah, it's fun to be with you. So my arrival in financial planning, wealth management, investment management, and so forth was sort of unusual, I think, maybe. I went to school. I was an English major at NC State, and I chose English because I believed that I was called to ordain ministry. I thought I would go to seminary and be an Episcopal priest. And I spent one summer in the coal fields of West Virginia, my home state, working for the church alongside my high school sweetheart, who's now my wife of 36 years. And I learned that, I learned a lot. I learned that a lot of what makes people happy and what makes people unhappy isn't necessarily money, but it's a close second. And I also learned that I wasn't really intended to be an ordained minister, but I still wanted to make a difference. So, after college, I went to New York and started my career there. And then eventually returned to my hometown of Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and started Hoxton Financial, now Hoxton Planning and Management. So
very cool. I guess I should have mentioned in the intro, you've got a podcast called The Last Paycheck. You're the author of 2 books, The Grow Greener, 10 Steps to a Richer Life, and Think Ahead, 10 Reasons Why You Need a Financial Planner. And so kind of give me the big idea on Grow Greener. What was I know you wrote that many years ago. I knew you when you wrote the book. And so tell me what your big idea was there in the Grow Greener.
Yeah, it's really very similar to the second book. And it's basically like there's more to money than money, actually. The idea that money is like the gas in the car that makes the vacation possible. But it shouldn't be the destination. And I learned this at a pretty young age, trying to build a business and feed a young growing family. I noticed that anytime I focused on the money, I was basically miserable. It was just the money couldn't be the reason that I was doing what I was doing. It needed to be something bigger than that, and certainly bigger than me. And so that kind of over the years, 33 years now, has been why I've sort of worked my way around to doing things the way that you do, Jeff. And in all of the years that we've known each other, you've always been such a great example to me in how to serve clients and help them live a rich life. And so I've spent a lot of time just trying to be more like you, I have to admit.
Well, you far surpassed me, so you've learned well, my student.
You call me grasshopper.
Yeah, one of the things you said in I think it was the Think Ahead book was, would you rather live rich or die rich? And I guess that was sort of that theme you were talking about. It had to be more than the money, but that's a pretty provocative statement, I guess. Would you rather, live rich or die rich? What does that mean to you? I mean, what was that trying to communicate to the reader?
I like the saying. It wasn't my saying. I just liked it because it did sort of touch on a couple of different things about money that is puzzling. One is that if your sole pursuit is money, then you're going to die someday and you're going to have a lot of money. And somebody else is going to enjoy it. And if you've been solely concerned with money, chances are there are a lot of things in your life that you didn't do that you could have done. And that at the end of life, you might look back on and say, gosh, I wish I'd done things a little bit differently. So, and it's also sort of a statement about the business that you and I are in, right? So financial planners, investment advisors, they tend to focus primarily on accumulation, building that wealth, and a little bit less on how to spend it and do the things that make you the best person that you can be, your vision of your best person. And, let's figure out a way to do financial planning that allows people to live the richest life they can without worrying about running out of money, but not have money be the primary focus.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, I guess, in your career path, because you had a season with Goldman Sachs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, were you able to have these type of deep conversations in that environment? And was that part of the reason that you decided you needed to do it a different way, which was not different to you because that's the way you've done it for years? But was that a hurdle for you, or was that just another path along the road?
Yeah, it was a hurdle. So the way that I ended up being part of Goldman Sachs, and I have a great deal of respect for Goldman Sachs. They do some amazing things, and we still work with them. But the way that I came to be at Goldman Sachs is I built this business, Hoxton Financial, an small independent financial planning firm, and thought that it would be great to be part of a larger organization. So I merged up with a larger independent firm. Right. And instead of having 3 offices like Hoxton Financial had, we had 102 at the time. And we were one of the larger offices. I felt like I had a lot of say in the way we did things. And it was fantastic. It's just awesome. I loved it, made a lot of great friends, and we were doing really important work for clients the same way that I had always done it. And then in much the way that business goes, the business ended up being sold to Goldman Sachs. And so I was an employee of Goldman Sachs. And Goldman, it's a different experience. It wasn't one that my Main Street clients really took to. And I, being somewhat of an independent outdoor cat, just wasn't really comfortable with it. So I was able to go to Goldman and say, I'd really like to leave, but I want to do it in an honorable way. And so I wrote them a big check, borrowed some money, and set out on my own again. So that's kind of how it went. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you've got a very important partner in your practice. You want to tell us a little bit about him?
Yep. So my son Archie has a very similar story to my own. He went to West Virginia University, was an English major as well.
Wow.
Spent 2 years as a campus missionary at the Naval Academy, and was going through the discernment process. Am I supposed to do something in the church, or am I supposed to do something in business? And ultimately, he decided to go back to school and went to Texas Tech, which is arguably, in my view, the best program for financial planning. Got his master's degree, was recruited to Vanguard, and then before he got too expensive, I recruited him back to work with me. So,
yeah.
So, he's been buying into the practice. He's an owner. We have another partner who joined us this time last year, and we're just growing like crazy.
Yeah. One of the things that I've always been impressed with you and your firm and the way you've operated is you're always willing to try things. You would experiment, do, so I guess like kind of low-cost probes on ideas. You always had a lot of courage. And I'm curious what your thoughts are about our industry. And I know this sounds like a little shop talk for my typical audience here, but I think it's helpful as they engage advisors and know kind of what we're facing. What is your opinion about technology and AI? And I know in one of your books, I guess it was the Think Ahead book, you talked about robo-advisors as an example and how robo-advisors can't capture what matters most. So what are your thoughts on technology in our industry, in our space? And are we going to lose the things that we just said mattered most? And that is that personal connection and helping people at the heart figure out what really matters.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. Throughout our career, there have been developments that have made me wonder: will we be irrelevant for our clients? Because first you had do-it-yourself investing, and then you had robo advice, and now with the rise of AI, there are lots of questions about that. And I believe this to be true. I'm not sure, but I believe it to be true that when the stakes are really high and people have important decisions to make, the human connection and a sense that you're speaking to somebody who's done it before and has some wisdom is going to be important, and maybe more important than ever, particularly as artificial intelligence continues to be a thing. Now, I think that as advisors, we will be well served to learn how to be better at what we do because of technology.
Right.
Not let it replace what we do.
Right.
To use it to be able to connect at a deeper level with our clients. And that's really exciting, I think. I mean, we're using some AI tools, very basic ones that have been vetted and from a security standpoint very deeply. But I think that there's a lot of promise there. But we don't want to have a situation where we're being run by robots. And even if we all have a robot working for us at some point, we don't want to be replaced by them.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think of it too in terms of the productivity gains that you mentioned, but I think it just creates so much opportunity to do higher level stuff. So these kids coming out of Texas Tech, used to, we would put them in a back room and they would crank out spreadsheets and financial planning data and all those kinds of things. Well, with the help of technology, a lot of that can be done a lot more efficiently and a lot more, and almost, you still need oversight and review, but a lot of that work can be done by technology today, and it frees them up to do the things that only they can do, the creative, emotional intelligence, life coaching, dealing with people during tragedy or opportunities. And, I think it's a pretty exciting development in total, but there will be some change that may be difficult for some to deal with. So I have this, I don't know what your conversations are like with Archie, but with my 28-year-old, he's not particularly positive on these developments because he sees his peers, who can't get a job or went to college for one thing and they're very concerned. But I think coaching young people to be lifelong learners and resilient and flexible, might be the new life skill that we all need. But I don't know, Rob, you and I are about the same age. I'm going to divulge some secrets here. And it energizes me in terms of my ability to stay relevant in the industry because I'm able to outsource more stuff that I used to do, but I didn't love to do.
Here's two really cool examples, Jeff. So we started using basically a digital scribe, an AI-enabled digital scribe. And for years, we've had an employee that sits in the meeting with client so that as an advisor, I can talk to that client and try to hear what they're saying and not spend my time taking notes. And because my ability to take notes interferes with my ability to listen. So, and so we had this wonderful young professional doing that job. We started using this tool, And now we're catching things that we would have missed. And she's just completing her CFP and is becoming an advisor. So she's not just doing a lower entry level job, but it's put her in a position to be able to accelerate her career, which is really cool. And that probably wouldn't have happened as quickly had it not been for this type of tool. So I think there's some amazing benefits to it.
Yeah, I agree. So you talk, I guess, in either one of your podcasts or your book about money scripts growing up. So talk a little bit about that, and then tell us, if you have any.
Yeah. I'm not proud of mine, actually.
Me either, of mine.
Yeah. So, well, mine is I remember, and I'll ask the question: what's your first memory of money, of using money and everything? And it's so telling.
This is something you ask clients.
Yeah, it's something we ask clients, and and for me, growing up. My dad was a Marine officer, and, he was a pretty strict disciplinarian, and we had chores to do, and some of them we were paid for and some of them we weren't. And when we were paid, it wasn't very much. And I remember as a elementary school kid, they had like every couple of weeks that the ice cream man would come. And I was always this chubby kid, and man, I just loved ice cream. And so I worked really hard, and an ice cream was a nickel. And so I went to school with 2 nickels, and my buddy Robbie didn't bring a nickel that day. And so he borrowed a nickel from me, and I only had 1 ice cream, and I was a little sore about that to begin with, and I worked really hard for that nickel. And Robbie never paid me back. And I was 7 years old, and I'm 60 now, and I still remember.
So you introduced the credit risk.
Yes, I still remember. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
But I think
No, it's not. It's not ridiculous.
I think it really tells, that question tells us a lot about how people interact with money and helps us be a better advisor.
Yeah, so Rob, I know at one of your previous firms, y'all developed a unique way of helping people uncover what matters most. And I've always been very impressed by that because, again, I always say at the end of the day, a lot of the work that we do is helping people figure out what matters most and then get their actions and resources in alignment with what matters most. But in order to do that effectively, you've got to help people kind of dig in to something they may have never done before. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that or how you did that in the past?
Yeah, so the firm called it the Money Mind exercise, and it's basically, it came out of research, Nobel Prize winning research that Daniel Kahneman did.
Sure.
Yeah, and so the idea is that when we're forced to make financial decisions quickly, we're going to go back to sort of that money script that we have. That's sort of our gut instinct, rather than, if we have a lot of time to think about it, we might be more rational. And so this great little exercise helped us understand if people sort of approach money from a position of scarcity or abundance, or whether they favor sort of lifestyle and experiences. So are they safety or experience-based? And so it was super helpful and predictive when dealing with the client. So one client would want us to analyze a particular financial transaction, buying a vacation home, for instance, 6 or 7 ways, whereas the other client would just call and say, "We bought it. Now, can you figure out how to help us pay for it?" And it was very predictive. So those are helpful tools.
Interesting. Yeah. I do remember the little cards you had that I guess was part of the technology that was developed to get to these in a fairly short, entertaining way and very insightful for the client.
Yeah.
Because you're not really influencing them. They're doing this on their own.
They're playing the card game and we're just taking notes.
Yeah. So very, very helpful.
And I don't have it anymore because I'm not part of that firm, but unfortunately we still use the same conversation though.
Yeah, I know that we've had talks in our meetings from time to time about, how we get to know our clients in the front end, and I know that you go deep. So, yeah. So, would you challenge the idea about retirement being just about financial stability? So, what does a meaningful retirement look like in terms of your definition, either for you or the way you would encourage clients to think about meaningful retirement? I know we were in a coaching program one time, and the main coach in the program, said, retirement's what they do with old airplanes and boats. They stick them out in the desert or someplace. And so we don't even want to use the word retirement, but obviously it's in our vocabulary. But how would you define a meaningful retirement in terms of your typical client or how you view it?
So we talk about two things. We talk about, a time frame in which you get to a point where you don't have to work for a paycheck. Right.
Beautiful.
So you can afford to have that last paycheck. That's where the podcast title comes from. So there's that, but that doesn't mean that you're going to stop working. And there's so much research, as you know, Jeff, about life longevity and happiness in the retirement, those golden years. You got to maintain a sense of purpose. You've got to be able to interact with colleagues and friends. And so we encourage our clients to look at retirement not in a traditional sense because it doesn't always end well, and it's particularly evident with men. So we look at retirement from a planning standpoint in terms of when do you not need a paycheck anymore to support your lifestyle? But then at a much higher level is, what is your next act going to be? And that's one of the things I love about this book.
Oh,
because
yeah, I've seen that book.
You really talk about, what's your next act going to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the academic literature is pretty clear, purpose, relationships, health, and financial, at least some measure of financial stability. But, without relationships and a reason to get up. I know Mitch Anthony used to always say that, you need enough money to sleep at night and enough purpose to get up, which I think is a pretty good way to put it. So what is your why? What do you think what is your big why? What professionally or personally, what gets you jazzed about getting up every day? And because, you're still active serving clients and yet another entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah.
So what gets you jazzed about this?
Yeah. So, I could probably just, like so many people, advisors our age, probably could financially stop getting a paycheck. But, the thing that I've never been so motivated by the dollar as much as I've been motivated in making a difference. And if our internal purpose for our business is to help people live happier lives through financial planning and resource management, and that's just what really floats my boat. I get excited about that. And we measure our business growth not in terms of how many assets we're managing. We measure it in terms of how many families we're serving. And I have a really big goal before I stop doing this to serve, a lot more families. And so it's going to take time, and I have to take care of myself and be healthy, but in order to do it.
Yeah. And, I think this goes right back to your desire as a youth to be in ministry. I mean, you wanted to help people. You're just, you're still getting the same type of, I guess, you're probably getting the same type of satisfaction today, just in a different context.
Yeah.
In terms of it, serving. So that's cool. I know Daniel Lampin, a rabbi, one time talked about income, and he called dollars certificates of appreciation. And in the capitalist system, we do get compensated by serving. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Capital flows to those that serve, not always used in the best ways, but I can see how the influence that you want to have on more and more households is not that different than ministry in terms of influence. You agree, I guess?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't serve as many households, but I have these wonderful young advisors who are doing it the right way, and they're serving those families. And it's really amazing. It's the comments that we get. It's just very gratifying. And we are there with, in much the same way a minister is, we're with them at some of their most trying moments. A spouse passes away and they'd never been involved in the finances of the family, and now they're like,
right.
Oh my goodness, what do I do? And so I think we play a really important role if we do it right, and it's very gratifying.
Yeah, I agree. So you talked about the influence helping others, and you started a center at Shepherd University called the Center for Financial Education. So tell us a little bit about that. What is that, and what? I guess it's about financial literacy. I'm not sure, but anyway, tell us about it.
Well, it started probably 15 years ago, Jeff. I created this little program called the Rural Financial Planning Project. And the idea is that in a state like ours, West Virginia, which is one of the poorest states in the United States, there is this huge drain of brain power. Young people leave the state in search of opportunity and never come back. And so I thought, what if our university in Shepherdstown, which is part of the West Virginia public university system, had a financial planning program where business-minded students could get a business degree and a minor in financial planning, get scholarship, mentorship, internships, graduate with all of the academic requirements to sit for the CFP exam, and then graduate, take the exam, and have a job.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Now, understanding we're only 60 miles from DC in this part of West Virginia. They're probably going to go to the big city, earn a living, but maybe some of them will come home and provide those important services in these underserved communities. And that's begun to work. So it started out with the creation of Shepherd University's financial planning program, where four students or so. I mean, it's tough on them, but I teach the capstone course every couple of years. And then as an add-on to that, we started the Center for Financial Education, which is a way to support faculty.
I see.
So that there are funds to help these students get through it, because many of them are kids they're the first in their family to go to college.
Right.
And so it's a new thing for those families. So it's been fun. It's really small, but we're making a difference.
Yeah, you do it one at a time. I mean, one at a time can have a huge impact. So looking forward, what gets you excited about the future? What are you looking forward to in your business? What are you looking forward to in the industry, or how you serve clients? What are you looking forward to in the future, Rob?
Oh my goodness, I'm looking forward to so much. I'm so blessed to work with my son, who is an amazing financial planner. He's so analytical, and he's a puzzle. He likes to puzzle and solve problems, but he's a really wonderful people person as well. So
What a great combination.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to do that. So it's fun to watch him grow and sort of grow into his role. I'm really excited about being a grandfather. I've got 3 and another one on the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. One of the greatest blessings professionally that I have is that I'm in this awesome study group, and there are 4 of us, and you're in it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, what has it been, like 28 years or something?
Yeah, we all met, I think, in 1998, I believe, either 97 or 98. So that's when I joined the coaching program that we were all part of in October of 97. I remember that well because my son was born in May and he was adopted, but the adoption didn't get finalized until October of 97. So I flew home from the coaching program and went to Birmingham, Alabama to court to finish the adoption process. So that has seared in my brain on when we all started that journey together. Yeah. And we've all gone through a lot of learning and change and growth and challenges. So it's been fun to do this with other like-minded people. And that's, I guess that's my encouragement for the audience. I mean, there's some great firms out there that all have different models and, but it's all about the people. It is a who business. To your point about technology can only do so much. You really, I think what makes a great firm is a firm that cares. And, I don't know if you can train caring. I mean, either you care about the hard issues or you don't.
Yep.
They've got to be technically excellent. I mean, obviously, we have to know the technical aspects of our work. And then you've got to be at least a good enough business operator where you can create systems and processes and good back office procedures so you don't make administrative mistakes constantly. And I know the firms in our study group, we've all gotten better at that because we're together and we're learning how to do it do it better. So yeah, I'm with you on the grandchildren thing. I've got two, and that's been fun, and we've done a lot. Well, anything else you'd like to add? I mean, I know you so well. It's at least in terms of the impact that you're having and the kind of work you do. Like I said, in our relationship with the study group, we all learn from each other, and I've learned so much from you on so many different things. But anything final you would like to add, either encouragement or counsel to individuals who are trying to, okay, it's not just about the money. How do I figure this out in not, we're both mechanics and guides, how do I do a little bit more of the guide part?
Yeah, I would say this for people who are wondering if a relationship with a financial advisor is a good thing or a bad thing, or if you're feeling nervous about the whole thing. They're not all the same. We're not all the same. But I bet you if you talk to your clients, Jeff, or our clients that we serve for decades, they will tell you that it has made all the difference. And a good advisor can show you how the advice that they've offered you has more than paid their fees and helped you make great decisions. So I would encourage people to do this, to interview and ask the hard questions of the prospective financial planner. On our podcast, we get comments and questions and emails that are like, I want to work with a financial advisor, but you're not anywhere close to us. And I'm like, you're right to want to work with a financial advisor. Here's some resources. Go check them out because it'll make your life better if they're good.
I think that's good advice and good encouragement. So let's make sure we know how the audience knows how to find you. So first of all, tell us the name of the podcast again.
It's called Last Paycheck Podcast. It's on YouTube. It's on all of the other podcast platforms, of course. And
The Last Paycheck. Okay.
Yep.
And then how do they find you on various social sites or your firm website?
So our firm website is hoxtonpm.com. And you can get Last Paycheck at hoxtonpm.com as well. Don't do chat on me because it'll probably tell you that I am a terrible barbecue pitmaster, but other than that.
It knows too much.
Yes, it knows too much, and sometimes it's not true.
Fair enough. Well, Rob, thanks for being with me today. This was so much fun. I like I said, I knew it would be. You've got so much to offer, and the guys, thank you for joining me today on the Money and Meaning Show. Hope you found it helpful. You can check out past episodes where you stream all your podcasts. If you could give us a rating, we'd love that. Please share it with your friends and go make it a great day. Thanks for being with us. Be well.
Thank you for listening to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to help you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to reach out to us at moneyandmeaning@tandemgrowth.com, or you can find us on the web at www.tandemgrowth.com. Jeff Bernier is the President and Chief Investment Officer at Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This show is a production of Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC. All information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Listeners should not rely on the content of this podcast as the basis for any investment decisions. A professional advisor should be consulted and/or independent due diligence should be conducted before implementing anything discussed in this show. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not make any representations or warranties as to the accuracy, timeliness, suitability, completeness, or relevance of any information prepared by any unaffiliated third party, such as guests on the podcast, and takes no responsibility for the same.